Well, hey there. How's it going? Thanks for joining us for these live stream reviews. We're going to dive into several church live streams today. We might have more than we can get to, but we're going to get through as many as we can. And hey, if you have some tips along the way, drop them in the comments because we're all here to help each other get better. Just make sure those are constructive comments and not derogatory comments. Of course, I don't think we would do that here, but I mean, we are on the YouTubes, so you just never know what's going to happen in the comments section.
You never know.
Keep it helpful. We review live streams every month. And if you want us to review yours, join our inner circle. You can do that using the link in the description. You don't just get your live stream reviewed, but you get access to a private chat to get your questions answered quickly, one-on-one coaching calls with either Dylan or I. I mean, there's all kinds of perks to the inner circle. So use that link and go subscribe. We also have a free live stream course that helps you get good sound on your live stream. The simple way. I'm all about the simple way. What's the simplest way we can get great results? That's what that course is all about, and it's free. You'll find a link to that in the description as well. And one more thing, we have a mixing cheat sheet down there in the description that you can download for free. This is something you set beside your mixer, so you can just fill out some of the details of the service and, make sure you stay on top of things and don't get caught with the pastor's mic muted when he's up there talking. Anybody ever done that? I think we've all been there.
Been there.
Been there. All right. You ready to jump into these, Dylan?
I believe so.
Hey, let us know where you're tuning in from, too. Drop that in the comments. We are in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. Central Time Zone.
We're also using a new mixer today, so hopefully it sounds good.
Yeah, and this thing's pretty cool. It's the Rode Class A.
It's the Rode...
something.
Procaster.
Yeah.
Caster Pro. Something like that.
Let's give Rode a hand. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into these. This first one's from Ryan Anderson. This is from St. John Missionary Baptist Church. He says he's looking for the overall blend for the streaming and also for the house is what he wants us to comment on. He's using the X32, and he wants to know what they can do to make sure their sound is consistent each week. All right, so here we go. I'm going to pull this up. And I'll go full screen for you, Dylan.
Woo!
Since you like that so much. And let's take a listen. All right, thanks for sending this in. So the first thing I notice is that it sounds a little thin, and I'm looking to see if there's a bass guitar, and I see a drum kit over there. I'm just not hearing any of those low frequencies. It almost sounds like maybe you have a low cut filter on your overall live stream mix, or even a low shelving filter there. We need to get some depth to your sound. That would be the main thing that I would want you to work on. Everything's just sounding really thin and kind of sharp because it is so thin. So we need to balance that out with the rest of the frequency spectrum. So I would take a look at your live stream bus, see if there's any EQ filters on there first. If there are, just go ahead and take those off. And also take a look at your vocal low cut filters and make sure they're not too aggressive. I usually find myself setting those to around 180 hertz whenever the vocal is holding their mic like they should when it's no more than an inch from their mouth. Now, but if they hold it further out than that, then your low cut filter probably won't be as aggressive as that. But set it at 180 hertz and then just mess with it until you get that nice, clean vocal that still has warmth and power behind it. So yeah, you need to dig into your mix there and find out what's causing that to sound so thin. Yeah, so it's hard to really give any other tips other than that. We need to get that resolved first. So go ahead and figure out what's causing your low frequencies to be missing and then resubmit that whenever you get that challenge solved. What do you think, Dylan, about the visual aspect?
I don't really have anything to say, to be honest. I think it looks good. I noticed they might be a little bit overexposed. The tiniest bit, like if you just dropped it one setting down, I think it'd be good. I just noticed it mostly in like some of the skin tones and then also in that white t-shirt there on the front right. But other than that, I think everything looks great. Your colors are consistent. Your shots are the horizon's good. With what you're working with, it looks really good. So great job.
Look at that wide shot. It's perfectly level.
Perfect.
It is. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Anything in the comments?
Let's take a look. For consistency, creating scenes each of the operators start with really helps.
Yeah, I actually have a video out there on some strategies for getting a consistent mix from week to week, even whenever you have different people mixing. And the one that comes to mind right off the bat is that you should have one person in your church that I would call like the chief ear tech, so to speak. And they're responsible for defining, what do we want it to sound like here at our church. And then they're the one that you also have listen to it week after week and then coach whoever's running sound to get whatever that is. Because we all hear things differently. So we really just need that one person that we point back to and say, this guy is the one, or this girl is the one that makes the decisions here to make sure that we're sounding the same each week. And as you work through that, each person will be able to adjust what they're doing to make it to where it all sounds similar. It won't ever sound exactly the same, but it'll sound similar enough to where most people won't notice the difference. Now, there's some other techniques too. I would just go to collaborateworship.com, go to the free content button, and just search for consistent sound, and you'll find that video.
Sorry, I got some in my eye. That's like a consistent problem for me.
That's a bummer.
I know.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. This one is from Tony, First Baptist, Three Rivers, California. He says, is overall sound quality providing a good audio experience? Is picture quality good? Those are the questions that he has. And also sermon notes on screens hard to see with our lighting setup, so we can definitely comment on that. So let's pull it up here, go full screen, and here we go.
Quiet place. In the stillness you are there. In the secret, in the quiet hour I wait only for you, 'cause I want to know you more. I want to know you. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more.
I think you have the start of a good thing here. So good job. One of the things that I noticed that you could that would take it really to the next level is to work on that acoustic guitar. It's just I say this a lot. There's a lot of people that are working on the same exact issue, but the acoustic guitar can really ruin your mix whenever you don't EQ it right. Whenever you have a full band like that, the acoustic guitar really only needs to occupy the upper end of the frequency spectrum. You don't need those mid frequencies from it. It tends to just make a mess out of things. So I'd put a pretty aggressive low shelving filter. And since you have the X32, you'll be able to do that on the acoustic guitar. A low shelving filter at about 900 hertz, and you'll cut like 6 to 9 dB. Now by itself, it's going to sound really thin and strange, but you'll notice that with the full band, it's going to sound right. So make that adjustment. That's going to help.
I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to touch you.
Now on the drums, I hear a lot of ambient sound. I feel like I'm hearing more of like maybe some ambient mics or what's coming through the vocal mics, and I'm actually hearing of the direct drum sound. So you need to work on that mix as well, specifically the snare drum. Like bring up the snare drum mic in the mix so it sounds more like a direct hit instead of just something happening off in the distance. Then bring up that bass guitar because I'm not really hearing it.
To touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know you more.
All right, yeah. One more thing I'm going to give you is on that vocal, that lead vocal. Make sure, I know you have a low cut filter on there, but you may dial that up a bit. He still sounds a little bit too thick. Try it at about 180 hertz and see how that sounds. And you also may add a low shelving filter to him as well, similar to the acoustic guitar. Set it to 800 hertz, but only cut about 2 to 3 dB, and just to thin out his vocal a little bit and make it more clear and kind of clean up those low frequencies. So yeah, I gave you quite a few tips there, so go implement those, and then I'd recommend resubmitting your live stream after you've implemented those things, and then we can go from there. Thanks for sending that in. Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
Check comments while I'm doing this. The only thing that sticks out to me right off the bat is the podium and the flowers kind of being right front and center in the shot. It looks like it might just be a limitation of where you're able to and not able to place your camera. And I'm assuming you want those flowers there, so that's a hard workaround. My suggestion would be to get rid of the flowers so there's just less obstruction in front of the camera. In terms of the camera quality, I think it looks pretty good. Might be a little bit overexposed, so maybe drop your exposure a tiny bit, and it might be a little bit warm. So I would drop your white balance towards cool a little bit more, just a tiny bit, not very much. And then the other thing I noticed is that the shot is off center. I'm going to assume that's probably another limitation of where you're able to put the camera. But other than those few things, I think it looks good. Not too bad.
Nice. Well, I looked at the comments, and Zach Brown said he loves the Rodecaster, so I guess that he's using that too, which is pretty sweet. We have a video coming out with him. Like, it's next week, though, isn't it?
Yeah, next week.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's move on to the next one. And this one's from Daryl at Interdenominational Faith in Colorado. He's looking for crisp live stream sound using the X32 producer. So let me pull this up.
Is it just me, or do you hear that audio gate coming in and out too?
I do. We'll have to adjust that.
Bummer.
All right, here we go.
Doing something wonderful in me, something awesome and incredible that only He will get the glory.
Well, you're only coming through the left side there, so there's some kind of setting that you need to change on how you have things.
It's actually the right side.
The right side. I must have my headphones on backwards.
There is some coming in the other side, it's just very faint.
God is doing something
You gotta take it off to hear it.
God is doing something. You can't have that.
So you probably don't notice that if you're listening on a phone or something like that. You don't realize that it's missing. But however you have your live stream audio connected, it's a stereo signal, so there's a left and a right. So you need to make sure that you're plugged into both of those. If you're using an audio interface, you have to use both. If you need some help with that, just let us know in the Slack channel, and we can guide you through how to resolve that.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're going to do it one more time. God is doing something.
God is doing something wonderful in me.
God is doing something wonderful. Something awesome
and incredible.
that only He will get the glory.
God is doing something wonderful,
Incredible.
incredible and awesome. God is doing something wonderful in me.
All right, cool. Yeah, just two things that I want you to work on is go through all those vocals and check your low cut filter replacement. Set it around 180 hertz to start. And then what you're doing is you're trying to find the place where the vocal sounds nice and clean, but you still have plenty of warmth. They're sounding a little bit thick. I think you probably have your low cut filter set at around 120 hertz on those, if I had to guess. And dialing that up is going to get you that crisp sound that you're looking for. And the other thing you're going to want to do is add some reverb to those vocals. The whole thing's really dry, and it looks like you're using some tracks because I don't see the band anywhere now. They could be off to the side, but adding some reverb to those vocals kind of help the whole thing blend together. Now I have a reverb strategy that's a little bit too much to go into in this session right now, but I have a video that'll walk you through it. There's two reverbs that I use on vocals, and one of them's a plate reverb, one's a hall reverb. And I walk you through how to set those up and what the parameters should be and things like that, and how much of it to use, all in a video that I've already put out there on YouTube. So you can either search the Collaborate Worship YouTube channel for reverb and you'll find it, or you can go to collaborateworship.com and you can search there for reverb and you'll find that video. So just those two things. Check your low cut filter, add in that reverb. It's going to make a world of difference. Dylan, what do you think on visuals?
Okay, so three things. If you're able to zoom in some more, well, I guess you wouldn't want to because then you'd cut off the two people on the very edges of the frame. So let's pan the camera down a little bit so we're seeing less ceiling. I think that's just a little too much ceiling going on. And then I don't know if it's just the camera or if the lens is dirty, but go ahead and like clean the lens just to make sure there's no smudges on it, because I noticed some inconsistency in the contrast, which can be caused by smudges on the lens. So check that. And then also your white balance is a little on the warm side. If you look at all the white t-shirts that we have, or just white shirts in general, they're just looking a little orange. So if you cool that down a little bit, it's nice you got so much white in the shot. Hopefully when you test it, you can put some more white. You could use the podium too, or the flag on the right side of the stage. Just try to get that white actually looking white. Like, let's see how close we are in our shot here. If I hold this up. So, I mean, on my display, that's pretty close to white. Now I notice there might actually be a little bit too much magenta in our shot. What do you think? You see any in the white card?
It looks pretty on to me.
So there you go. Hold up some white in your shot. If you don't know like what white balance accuracy is, you just want this to look like it does to your natural eye. White. There might also be some scenarios where the lighting causes it to not be white to your natural eye. So you got to go off of preference there, whether you want it to look like it does in person or if you want white to be white in your shot. But there you go. There's a little trick for you.
Awesome. Thanks for sending that in. Samuel is asking us, how do I submit my live stream for review? This is something we do for our Inner Circle subscribers. So you'd have to join Inner Circle. And once you join Inner Circle, there's a link in there where you can submit your review. There's a link in the description of this video where you can join Inner Circle. All right, let's move along to the next one. This next one comes from Jeff, and he's in Grace in Community Church. He's just looking for help with his overall audio mix. So he's asking, how's the general audio mix? We only have 2 mics on the drums. Start listening around 4 minutes in. They're using the Behringer XR18. All right, he said to start at, you got me at 10 minutes, Dylan, but he said to start at 4 minutes. So let me go ahead and start where he wants us to. And here we go.
So run into wide open spaces. Grace is waiting for you. Dance like the weight has been lifted. 'Cause grace is waiting. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. Where the Spirit of the Lord is.
Awesome. One of the first things that I noticed is that your vocals are panned. I love that you're using panning because that's a great way to get a much wider, livelier live stream mix. But when it comes to vocals, you generally don't want to pan those unless you have 2 people singing the same harmony part, not lead, but harmony part. Then you can pan those slightly one way or the other to bring some separation between those identical parts. But in this case, your lead vocal is panned a little bit, what would be the left, and then you have the other vocal to the right. And it just sounds a little strange. Bring both of those back into center. Another thing is I don't hear any reverb or ambient mics in this mix. So I would start with the reverb. That would be the simplest way to just liven up your mix. I had touched on that in the video before. I have a video on that walks you through actually 3 different reverbs I use and how to use them. So I'm just going to refer you to that video. Go search our YouTube channel for reverb and you'll find that. It's going to make a huge difference. So get that reverb added in there.
Prison shake at the sound. Jesus' name.
Now on the drums, it is tough to get a good drum mix with just 2 microphones. I mean, to get the depth from the kick drum and the floor tom and the snare, they each have to have their own mic. So I would recommend investing in some mics for those drums. And even if you just have to use what you have on hand, maybe you have some Shure SM58s just sitting around that are not being used, I would use those. So you can have a mic on each of those drums because that's the only way you're going to get power and depth from the drums. Now with just 2 mics, I think you're doing the best that you can do, but I would definitely invest into those microphones and start beefing up that drum mix.
One more time, chains will fall, prison shake at the sound, Jesus' name, and life's made whole, hearts awake at the sound, Jesus' name. The Spirit of the Lord is.
All right. One more thing to look at is the EQ on that lead vocal. She's sounded a little harsh, a little strange. There's not a lot of depth to her voice. If you just sent me like maybe a picture of what your EQ looks like on that to the Inner Circle chat on Slack, I can help you iron that out. So go ahead and do that if you have the chance to do that. I'll pass it over to Dylan for visuals.
Josh from Budget Church Livestream, he actually said a lot of the same things I was about to say. I'm going to read his comment. He said, I feel like 4 lines of lyrics is a little busy on screen, which I was going to say as well. I think it would look better if you took it down to 2 lines of lyrics, which if that's a copy of what's seen in the room, I think that's even a benefit for the room as well. Just so you don't get lost in what you're reading. I think 2 lines is about as much as you can process at one time for the average person. And then he said it would also be awesome to move that podium out during the worship if you're able to, and maybe even pan up a smidge to get the full cross and less of that front stage area, which I was thinking the same thing about panning up until I thought about that they might have it like that because the pastor is framed in the shot properly when it's like this. But if you're able to pan up for worship and then put something over like a slide or something to cover up the shot and then pan down for the message in between the two. That'd be my suggestion for that. And then one more thing, it's a little bit overexposed. You can tell in the piano, a little bit in the skin tones. So just drop your exposure a tiny bit so that there's nothing blown out. And I think you got the makings of a good shot.
Awesome. Yeah, even if they couldn't move their camera, moving that podium out of the shot would make a big difference because your eye wants to go to whatever's closest in the shot. So that's just like, hey, here I am. I'm a podium. Oh, yeah, there's some people behind me too.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like mixing sound. There's got to be something in the front.
Just put someone on podium duty.
There you go.
You're our podium guy.
All right, cool. Let's see. Any other comments? Much love from France. Well, hey, Ryan Chan. It's great to hear from you all the way in France. I've never been to France. I've never actually, woo! I've never been out of the country, sad to say. Now, I've been to, thanks for the sound effects.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've been to Hawaii, which is quite a distance from where we are. But anyway, it's great that we can just be in all parts of the world through this awesome thing called technology.
You've never been out of the country?
Never.
I've only been to Mexico a handful of times.
Yeah.
Only place I've been outside of the U.S.
Man, we need to get out more, Dylan.
I know.
All right, up next. This is from Spence Krisco, Connections Church. General Mix, they got a new wing and they got new mics. Man, they just like, all right. I love the wing. Okay, let's take a listen to this. I've been talking to Spence a lot in the Inner Circle chat, so I'm excited to hear this.
That once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to our
Oh, I heard that. The reverb was off, and then they turned it back on, but at least they caught it, right?
Happens.
bow. The one who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty.
Really great on that vocal. She sounds really good. It's nice and warm, and it's clear at the same time. That's a great example of what a good vocal sounds like.
Now shines for all to see. Your name is victory. All praise.
Those background vocals are mixed a little too loud in the mix. Bring those down, probably about 5 dB.
Your name.
Because there's a guy in there that's almost louder than the lead vocal, so it makes me wonder, like, well, who's the lead now?
Praise will rise to Christ our King. The fear that held us now gives way.
That floor tom is panned a little bit too hard over to the, I guess it'd be on the right side. I have my headphones on backwards. Pan that back a little bit more towards the center.
He's now alive in me.
The mix needs some more bass guitar as
Your
well.
name is victory. All praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory. All
I'd say kick drum is almost there. Like bring your kick drum up a hair and then marry it with your bass guitar and you'll fill in that low frequency spectrum a lot better. I would have brought the snare up a little bit too. It sounds really good. You have a good sounding snare. I think it just needs a little bit more volume. Spence, I'm really just nitpicking here because we've had so many conversations on this. You have a great mix going here. I'm just giving you kind of all the things that are coming to mind that could take it to the next level. So there you go. But like I said, you have a great thing going. Keep it up, man. Great job. Dylan.
Da-da-da. Two things I noticed. One, the first thing, we've got some color wash on the face. And from looking at it, now that we're on this wide shot, I think it's from these side mounted lights, if I had to guess, shooting towards the sides of their faces. Typically, I would say that's a no-no, unless that's just the only option you got and you just really want those lights there. If you're able to move them, I would say move them to where you don't have color wash on the front of their faces towards more of a backlighting. And then that wide shot was really overexposed, so I'd recommend dropping the exposure down on that quite a bit. You could match it to this shot that we're on right now. This might be a little underexposed, a tad, but not awfully. So maybe bring that close-up shot up a tiny bit, just ever so slightly, and then match the exposure of that wide shot to it. Also with this wide shot, if you're able to zoom in some more, there's more on the left side of the stage than there is on the right, and I think it could be a little bit tighter. And then we've had this problem too, but I noticed some of the front lighting is hitting the backs of your front row. If you have barn doors on your front lighting, use that bottom barn door to kind of get it off of those people. If you don't have barn doors, you can probably find some that fit on your lights, and I would recommend doing that. Other than that, good job.
Nice. So somebody's asking, how do you encourage your pastor to invest in audio equipment as a small church? I think that's kind of twofold. One thing is, prove to him that you're going to invest the time into having good sound by making sure you're getting the most out of the equipment that you already have. And also put in the work to develop a phased plan for him. Like, so here's all the things that we want, but here's step by step, like we only need this first and then this, because it can be really overwhelming if you're like, we want to get all this stuff and, oh, hey, it's 20, 30 grand or whatever the amount is. That's just going to overwhelm you. You're like, yeah, we're not doing that. But if you're like, hey, we need to spend about 30 grand on this, but here first, we need like to spend $1,000 on this new mic. So when can we spend that first $1,000 and just lay it out there step by step so that as the money is available, you can use it for what needs to be done. So you put in the work to do that. Don't expect your pastor to do that because he doesn't know anything about audio equipment. And then I bet you'll get to where you want to. It may take some time, but you know what? One of the fruit of the Spirit is patience. That's we at the church. We're supposed to be known for patience, right? Love is what? Patient.
A lot of things. I was like, which one do you want me to say?
But patient is first. And most of the time we don't get past that one. Like we'll start there, right?
Usually I just say, because Cade's my pastor, I'm like, hey, I'm buying this. He's usually like, okay. But if he doesn't think I should get it, he just says, no, you're not. That doesn't happen very often.
Shout out from the Philippines. Good to have you, Paul. All right, quick question. I have one Mac for Logic and another for OBS. What's the best way to get the sound over from Logic to OBS? ATEM Mini? ? All right, one Mac for Logic, another for OBS.
Josh, we defer this to you. What do you think?
I mean, you could have an audio interface on each computer.
Yeah, I don't know that the audio going through an ATEM Mini is really the highest quality.
No, probably not. I would get like 2 Scarletts. This may not be the best way. I'm just thinking out loud here. This is a way of doing it. A Scarlett on each computer, because your Scarlett audio interface gives you 2 inputs and 2 outputs. So then you'd have 2 outputs from one computer and you'd go to the 2 inputs on the other computer. And that'd probably be the cleanest way to do it.
Wait, he needs the same audio going to 2 different computers? Is that what he said?
No, he's saying he's like running Logic and probably doing a DAW mix on one computer, and he needs to get it over to the next computer that's running OBS.
Yeah, so what we do is we just use a Scarlett to get an analog output from the X32 converted to digital. And then OBS just recognizes the Scarlett as an audio input.
He's not coming out of his X32, though. He's coming out of his computer, so he's like mixing.
Oh, he has to come out of that first computer.
Yep.
Got it.
Now, can you not use the same computer for both? Because OBS does it use a lot of processing? Maybe it does. You think a computer would be capable of running a DAW mix and OBS at the same time.
Just depends on how powerful it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Josh from Budget Church live streaming, help us out. Oh, he was thinking 2 interfaces as well. They did something similar for a while. Not super ideal, but it worked. All right, there you go. Yeah, the ATEM would work, but like Dylan said, ATEM's not really known for audio quality. It's known for video switching. So I don't know. I mean, it's an option though. Tune that tom, Paul says. I agree. Drum tuning, man, it makes a big difference. It was sounding a little flat. We like to bring in our local drum shop guy to change our heads and tune our drums every so often. And once they're tuned right to begin with, then your drummer has an easier time keeping it tuned in between professional tunings, so to speak.
Yeah, there's some misconceptions about drum tuning though, because there's technically no flat or sharp with a drum, because they're not what do you call that? A blank instrument. They don't play specific notes to play the note. They're percussive. So it just comes down to, is the head in good shape? Is it making the right sound? Is it consistently tuned around the head? And then are they spaced properly apart is what our drum expert told me. You don't want the rack tone to be da-da and then the floor tone to be like da-da. That's not enough space in between them. You want da-da, da-da.
Yep.
I can't remember what he said the spacing needs to be, but you just kind of learn to hear it with your ear.
Yep. So I would rephrase my word then. I wouldn't even say that it sounded flat. It just sounded dead. It sounded off.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe
it needed some TLC.
Could have been a bad head too.
Yeah, could have been.
Just put some duct tape on it. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
So many things, right? So many things. And that's why we do these, to help each other think through the details of what's going on, because we're all going to miss something. Y'all can listen to our live stream and tell us something we missed. All right, let's pull up this next one here. And this is from Chris, New Covenant Church. He's bass boost. Would like the review of the second song at 9 minutes. We made changes at the 20-minute mark to remove the low end of the bass and toms. All right, so we're going to look at 9 minutes, then we're going to look at 20 minutes and hear the difference.
You reign above it all, you reign above it all. Over the universe and over every heart, there is no higher name. Jesus, you reign above it all. And on the cross, the work was finished. God, you poured out your life just to give us new life.
Jumping forward to 20 minutes.
We'll build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. We'll put my trust in you.
I'm going to go back to 9 minutes.
In the kingdom of light, forever under your dominion. Let all of heaven and the earth erupt in song.
I like the low end before you made the change better. What do you think between the A and B? It sounded a little thin later on. Were you paying attention?
Yeah, I did notice the bass being like really loud.
Right now?
You reign above it all.
All right, I'm going to jump forward again.
Lost in your eyes.
Maybe somewhere between the two.
My God, show me your glory.
Because now I can hardly hear the bass guitar. I hear the kick drum.
Oh, is it just the bass guitar we're talking about? I thought it was bass in general.
That kick drum's still thick.
Yeah, I'd say drop the kick drum a little bit.
Yeah, I think somewhere between those two adjustments that you made there would be the happy place for the bass guitar and the kick drum. I'm going to go back to the beginning part here.
Now from the lips of the forgiven, hear an anthem arise. 'Cause Jesus, you're alive. Yes, you reign above it all. You reign above it all.
Okay, a couple of things about the vocals that you could do to make them better. They're all sounding just a little bit too thick in the mid-range. I don't think it's a low cut filter issue in this situation. I think that you should try applying a low shelving filter at 900 hertz. Cut 2 to 3 dB on all those vocals to clean them up, to thin them out just a little bit. I don't want them to sound thin. I just want them to be thinner than they are right now in that midsection. And then you also need to add some reverb to those vocals. So you have this big ambience thing going on with probably your backing tracks, but there's no ambience on the vocal mic. So it sounds like they're not even in the same band. Like they don't sound meshed together. So the way to fix that is you just need to add some reverb to all of your vocals so that they sound as ambient as your backing tracks are sounding. And again, that seems to be the theme in this live stream review, but in case you're just jumping on, I have a video on 3 different reverbs that I use. So go refer to that video on how to fix that. You can find it by searching our YouTube channel or go to collaborateworship.com and you search it there. Just search for reverb, you'll find it.
Now you sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory, enthroned on the highest praise. Now you sent the darkness running out of an empty grave. Now seated alone in glory.
The drums are sounding a little bit like dull. I think we need to bring some life to the drums, and that could be as simple as turning up your overhead mics for the drums in the live stream, because I can see him hitting that ride cymbal and then I'm not hearing it at all. So turn that up until you can hear whenever he's hitting that ride cymbal, and that's also going to bring clarity to everything else that's in the drum kit since it's picking up the whole thing. So I would start with that and see if it brings the clarity that you need to the drum kit. So yeah, those 3 things, and you're going to notice a big difference. Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
Okay, number 1, and Josh kind of took some words out of my mouth again. Keeps beating
Josh,
me to
get
it.
off of here. I'm just playing.
Overexposure, the first thing I noticed it mostly in the girl in the middle. She might just have the fairest skin, or she might have more lighting on her than the other 2, or a combination of both. But I would say either even out your wash of the front lighting or drop your exposure a little bit, maybe both. Just it's a little overexposed. Your horizon is off a little bit. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, Josh was talking about the mic stands being in the shot. There's a lot going on those mic stands. So this is going to be kind of a lot of work for you, this suggestion. But I'd say number 1, get rid of the mic stands. They're not even using them. It's very distracting to have a mic stand right in front of somebody, especially when, like he said, you only have the one shot. And then their phones being right there was a big distraction for me. I was like, why is there a phone like right in front of their face? I'm assuming it's so they can read the lyrics. Let's see. How do you go about that one with your vocalist?
You say no phones on the stage. And then you get them a confidence monitor in the back of the room. If
you can't afford to do the confidence monitor right now, it's not that hard to memorize the lyrics. Maybe put a piece of paper on the floor if they're really worried about it. Cade's wife, Beth, she has a hard time getting rid of her lyrics before we got a confidence monitor. Sometimes you forget them. It happens. But that just makes you human. It happens. Tell them to work on memorizing. It's just a good thing anyway, so you're not looking at a confidence monitor all the time as well. And then I was going to say the P16s too. I would recommend getting those out of the shot. What we do is we have them on the ground behind our vocalist, and then we have 2 pieces of wood arranged in an L with them sitting behind it. So the wood's painted black. It blends in with the stage. You don't notice the P16s behind it. Yes, you have to turn around and bend over to adjust it, but you shouldn't really be adjusting it during the service anyway. That all is done during rehearsal. But it's really cleaned up our shot a lot, so I'd recommend that. That's going to be a tough one to talk to them about. So 3 things: the mic stand, the phone, and the P16s. I would just get those out from in front of your vocalist.
Good luck.
Good luck. Have fun with that. But it is going to improve the look of it a lot.
You know, though, a confidence monitor could probably be cheaper than maybe you think that it is. And by confidence monitor, we mean there's a screen on the back wall, on the back wall of the church that everybody on stage can see. You could go buy a cheap TV, like the cheapest TV you can find.
A lot of people just have one laying around too.
Yeah, if you have one laying around, just use whatever you have. You hang that up back there. You run an HDMI cable from your Pro Presenter to there, and Pro Presenter is already set up to have that extra display. You just have to configure a few things.
It's honestly really easy.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you had to buy a TV, I mean, we're talking about like $100 for a cable and $300 or $400 for a TV, and then you got them a confidence monitor and a little bit of elbow grease.
What kind of cable are you talking about? $100 for an I guess if it's a really long one.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to mount it. That could be the tricky part. like ours is hung suspended from the ceiling above the sound booth, and we had to have someone that's smarter than us figure that out.
Yeah, you don't want us hanging stuff from the ceiling. Be a bad thing.
Anyway, you'll appreciate doing that if you put the time in to do it.
Agreed. All right, carrying on. This one is from Nigel, Harvest Temple. Make sure audio is consistently improving. I think this is a resubmission. He's submitted his before. Is the overall mix and compression right is what he wants us to focus on. So rock and roll, here we go.
Worship Him, bow down, bow down and worship Him. Enter in, oh enter in, oh enter in, bow down, bow and worship Him, worship Him, worship Him, worship Him. Oh, worship Him. Come on, worship Him. Come on. Hey. Worship Him. Bow down. Yes, God. Bow down and worship His awesome presence. Awesome fills this room. This is holy ground. This is holy ground.
Nigel, you are making great progress, my friend. Really good work. I'm impressed.
This is holy ground.
Next thing to work on is the balance between your vocals and your instruments. Your vocals are like way out here up front, and your instruments are kind of like back here. You do want your vocals in front, but not way up front. So bring those instruments up until your vocals are just sitting right in front of them, and you're going to get a more rounded, full sound.
So come, so come and bow.
And I also noticed that the piano is sounding a little bit thin. Check your EQ on that. Make sure you're not cutting too much of those low frequencies, those low mids out of there, because there's not really a lot of warmth to the piano, and I think that it needs to be there. So bring some of that warmth back if you're able to with your EQ filter.
So come and bow down. Hallelujah. He's a consuming fire.
Yep, that's really all I would say. Work on your balance between your vocals and your instruments. Bring your instruments forward a little bit. It's going to make a big difference. What do you think, Dylan, about visuals?
Number one, good job on matching the colors between the two shots. Great job there. One thing I noticed, your wall washes seem to be pointed towards the wall a little bit too much because they're not going up very far. Just there's like a circle of light, and then it's not really extending up the wall. So if you wanted to fully wash that wall, like here's the wall, here's the light. You can't see me. Whoa, wrong one. There we go. Maybe I should make that bigger. Here's the wall, here's the light. It's kind of doing this, so it's only hitting that one spot. But get closer to the wall and then point it up some more, so you're going to get a wash all the way up it.
And I would say use your camera to figure out where that needs to be, because your eye is going to be more forgiving than a camera is.
Correct. It's also going to fix it being overexposed in that one area too, because you notice it's like white right in the middle. It's overexposed right there.
Yeah.
And then Josh said it too, this wide shot right here, it's a little too far to the right. So see if you can pan that over towards the left so it's kind of centered with everybody on stage and not really showing that wall with the projector on it. We don't really need to see that. One other thing, this is going to take some DIY, but something that stood out to me in the beginning were those overhead mics for the drums. I'd like to see what that looked like if those were like spray painted white. I don't even know if you can find a white mic stand. You might be able to, but it'd be cheaper to just spray paint them. You'd probably have to spray paint the cables too. But just those blending in a lot more, I think, would be a nice thing. You could under mic them as well, but I don't think that sounds as good, does it, to put the mics underneath?
Usually not. They look like they might be a little high. They could probably come down to be less distracting.
Yeah, they just really stick out to me. So that might be really cool to paint them white. Has anybody ever done that? Let us know in the comments.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sending that in. All right. That's all we had queued up, but we had some other ones come in. I think we have some time to at least jump into one more of these. So this comes from Larry from Emmanuel Baptist Church. Took your tips from last month on the 180 hertz cut and the shelf, as well as adjusting the vocal lead. In addition, we added the snare in and adjusted the electronic drum. Still a work in progress. Now we made some adjustments to the acoustic guitar based on your recommendation. May have overdone it a bit. Finally, we bumped up the lower lyrics. Man, they did a lot of things. However, we decided to stay on fades and camera. The transition fades, awesome. Sounds good. That's just a personal preference. So, but they did shorten them. They shortened the fade. So, man, they made a lot of adjustments. Let's just pull this up real quick and we'll look at what we got. I love this song. I haven't heard it in a while.
And seas that are shaken and still can be calmed and broken for my recall.
We have some wireless interference going on. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well.
Low cut filter on the vocals is good, but background vocals are a little bit too loud compared to the lead vocals. So level wise, bring those background vocals down. One way I like to explain that is that in general, your background vocals should blend in with the instrument mix. Like kind of see them as one of the instruments in the band and mix them there, and then bring your lead vocal on top of it all.
Far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And that this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well.
Yeah, that is the main tip I have for you this time, is to bring those background vocals down. They're trying to steal the mix. I also hear somebody is out of tune, like one of the instruments. I was trying to see if anybody was on that piano over there, but it doesn't look like it, so it can't be that. Must be Mr. Acoustic Guitar there. So just make sure they have it as part of their process to tune their guitar before service starts. Some people think they only need to tune it once whenever they get there for rehearsal, but don't you need to also tune it before service starts, Dylan?
Correct.
Mr. Acoustic Player?
Please tune before service.
All right. What do you think about visuals?
I had a couple thoughts, now they kind of left my mind. Oh, a second ago, while this is fresh on my mind, there was a shot on the drummer. I don't think we really need to see a close-up of him because it looks kind of awkward with the two people that are on each side of him. They're just kind of like cropped off. I would say don't zoom in on him. Love him. He's cool. Looks like a cool guy. I just don't think we need a close-up shot. We also don't really need a close-up shot of the piano right there. It's kind of weird to do a close-up through people that are still in the shot to someone that's behind them. I would just recommend not doing that. Maybe just do close-ups of the people that are singing, or your guitarist there on the left. I had an audio thing a second ago. I was going to say, I noticed that the vocalists are not really syncing up very well, matching the lead vocalist. So that might not be your domain to recommend to them, but if you could talk to your worship leader to talk to them about matching, it's just really important for your backup vocalist to sing things and phrase things exactly how the lead vocalist is, so they all sound like one voice, because it's just sticking out to me that their timing was a little bit off and the way that they were pronouncing words was a little bit off. I think that would improve the sound quite a bit. That was just one thing that stuck out to me. I wanted to say that while I was thinking about it.
Agreed.
In terms of white balance, it's pretty close. It might be a little bit magenta. So I would go towards green on your tint a little bit. Love the lyrics. Love that there's only 2 lines there. Just waiting for these shots to go through so I can notice a few more things. Josh, say anything about it?
He agreed with you on the close-ups.
I love that these shots have a little bit of a zoom in. I like that wide shot does. It's
Got some
pretty cool.
motion going.
A little bit of motion. Good
Yeah.
job. Same thing with the wall washes. It looks like they might be pointing towards the wall a little bit too much. They're not really shooting up it. Yeah, definitely magenta on the white. Too much magenta on the white balance. I think that's all I had. That's all I'm noticing right now.
Awesome. Thanks for sending that in. Keep working, man. You're doing a great job.
Great job.
Great job. All right. Let's see. I think we have time for one more. So let's do Zach from Life in Christ Church. Audio mix is sometimes low and needs to be fuller. Our cameras need some help as well. We welcome any suggestions to improve our live stream. Awesome. It's always good to have a attitude willing to learn. Let's see. I'm going to find the music spot here. Here we go.
Worship His Majesty, Jesus who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Jesus who died, now glorified, King of all kings. Lift up your hand in the name of Jesus.
All right, pretty simple mix here. We got 2 vocal mics and a piano. I'd say the piano sounds good. On the vocal mics, I would have the male vocalist there hold his mic closer. He's holding it about a foot from his mouth. It only needs to be about an inch. So if he'll bring that mic up, it's going to give you a lot fuller sound from him. It's going to make a big difference because there's really nothing you can do at the board to fix a problem like that. A lot of people are always asking, what can I do to make my vocalist sound better when he holds his mic out here? It's like, you can't. He's got to hold his mic closer. So just keep reminding him. Maybe he's a shy singer. Maybe he's new to it or something like that. Just during rehearsal, say, hold your mic closer, hold your mic closer, hold your mic closer. And then eventually you'll get in his head.
If they don't beat him up afterwards. I'm just kidding.
That's the solution. And the other thing that I would do is add some reverb to your vocal mics. There's a lot of ambience going on with that keyboard. Sounds really good. Now you want to match that ambience with your vocals as well. Today is like the day of the reverb. So I have a video on that, 3 different reverbs that I use. Again, you can find that by searching the Collaborate Worship YouTube channel or collaborateworship.com. Just search for reverb and you'll find that video. What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
I'm going to agree with Josh. I just saw his comment come in. Cameras are a little bit warm, so adjust the white balance to cool them down a little bit. I noticed a little bit of mismatch between the different angles, so work on matching your white balance between them. And then that piano, the shot of the piano player, it wasn't really centered, so I would center it on her, the person, being the middle of the shot. Waiting for it to move again. Do.
One thing I noticed is that somebody's actually running these cameras because they're moving. But these vocalists aren't moving around. They're just kind of staying in front of their stand. So I don't think you really need these like little minor adjustments as they sway back and forth. Probably just keep it nice and steady until somebody actually makes a significant movement. I don't know if that's a good suggestion or not. That's just my opinion.
I would take the lyrics from 3 lines down to 2, like we said earlier, if you're able to do that. And then I'm not really a fan of the logo watermark in the top right. I don't really know, like if someone clicks on your stream, they know what church they're watching, so they don't really need a reminder on the shot. I think it's just a little bit distracting. There's an example of the piano player being off center. And then we're panning over to something else. That happens. Sometimes you need to switch. This wide shot right here is a little bit overexposed, so I would adjust that exposure a little bit. And then there's just not really much going on around the pastor in this wide shot, so I don't really know that it's a shot that I would use if there's not really any people sitting up here in the front to fill that area of the shot. It just doesn't seem like it serves the purpose of a wide shot if there's nothing else going on the sides, if that makes sense. I was going to say a second ago, sound related, I didn't know who the lead vocalist was because they were both about the same level and they were both singing the same thing. So if one of them's not going to sing harmony and one's not going to be kind of like lead volume-wise over the other, it's just a little bit confusing. That's more of a musicality thing you're going to have to communicate to them, though.
Yep.
Not something you can really fix at the mixer.
All right. Well, this is for everybody. Woo. Thanks for sending these in. I know that it's like, it could probably be nerve-wracking to send your live stream in for everybody to critique. So my hat's off to you for wanting to be better. Hopefully we gave you some tips that'll take you to the next level. Hopefully we didn't give you too many tips to overwhelm you. Everything's a work in progress. Just take things one at a time. If I gave you 3 or 4 things, maybe just pick one of them until you get it down and then come back and revisit the other things later. That's what I would do. Don't allow yourself to get overwhelmed, because that's not beneficial for anybody. You ever get overwhelmed
Sometimes.
by all the things that you could do? Just make a list, set your priorities, and take it one at a time. Well, thank you all for doing this. We do this every month. So if you want your live stream reviewed next time we do this, be sure you're a part of Inner Circle. You can subscribe to our Inner Circle using the link in the description. You can also grab our free live stream Mix Made Simple course using the link in the description. We have a mixing cheat sheet down there as well. All kinds of things going on in the description. So go down there and check out those links. Get your hands on all those things. And hey, if anybody is going to be at the Churchfront Live conference next week, we're going to be there too. So be sure you come up to us and say hello. We're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, thanks for being here on these reviews, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great day.
See ya.